Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts Season 3 on Netflix. And I thought this was an okay concluding season. I just wish that they had more episodes to really kind of flesh out certain things. That's kind of the downside to this kind of format. Granted, 10 episodes isn't bad, but they kind of have to do a lot of work to kind of get through everything that they're going through in this season. And I just wish that they had had more episodes to kind of do more of the story that they needed to, or kind of really just dealt with more of the whole conflict between Kipo and Dr. Amelia. So we pretty much come in from where season 2 left off. Dr. Amelia has pretty much taken the rest of Kipo's people from the borough and is pretty much trying to use them as her own kind of army and to try and perfect the mutant cure to reclaim the surface. Kipo's not having any of that and pretty much makes an alliance with an insanely nutty acronym and is trying to pretty much get everybody to kind of work together. It is a hard thing, and they get all the different kind of things going on. Her mom's frustrated that she can't really help her because she's stuck as a mega mutant monkey, and she is trying to kind of get through to Scarlemagne. As we see, he does try and escape a lot when Kipo's trying to figure out how to kind of get him back into everything, even though everybody's like, you tried to pretty much turn us into gold statues, dude. I'm gonna watch you. So it's like, yes, wariness is good, but giving him the chance to change and help did help his character arc throughout this story. So we do see that Kipo and Wolf and Benson and Dave go and try and figure out what Dr. Amelia's plans are and try and get people to come back with him. But like this one girl that was pretty much friends with him is dancing to kind of like a narwhal that is part of a Korean boy band. I was like, okay, I understand K-pop's a big thing. I'm just like, you gotta explain to me how they mutated narwhal kind of things and how they learned Korean. Especially since everything kind of like went down. I'm like, that's a story in and of itself. I don't mind that they're doing it, but I'm like, that's an interesting one because a couple of mutes were being taken by Dr. Amelia to figure out what's going on with them. She's like, ooh, wait a minute, because Kipo leaves behind some fur because everybody's kind of like freaked out about her coming on the boat and all that, even though it's like, hey, she's kind of got this. They had almost like taken her mom's notes, but those got left behind, and it's like destroyed in like a really attempt. It's like, Kipo's the key. It's like, okay, she pretty much takes the DNA that she's got from Kipo and makes a cure for it. And of course, she tries to force her into a kind of no-win scenario, but she's able to kind of figure it out. While they've also got one of Dr. Amelia's lackeys captured, and he eventually comes to their side pretty much by being like a gym bro with one of the raccoon people. It's like, okay. However, they attempt to go and free her friends as they had been captured by a misdirect by Wolf's previous sister, because she had been, of course, brought up by some wolves and then set upon as prey. And she's like, fine, we'll see what's going on. But she tried to back out at the last minute, but Dr. Amelia still captured him. And in the whole kerfuffle, Yum Yum gets hit by the cure and gets turned into a cat and doesn't get turned back. It's like, okay, at least you're building stakes and actually executing on them. But Kipo was actually able to get one of the other ones, and they're able to turn her mom back into a human, and she's trying to figure out how to have a vaccine to this thing, but is not having much success. And they did ask the dubstep bees to pretty much help them have Death Ivy to try and protect all of the mutes in the Timber Cat City. However, the humans are able to get in and start doing some stuff before bugging out. This, of course, pisses Kipo off, and she attempts to kind of go and stop them, but her friends are able to kind of talk her down, and she's asked them to a prom. I'm like, okay, I understand that this is kind of like a young slash high school kind of thing. I'm just like, okay, because that was, granted, it's pretty much a prom of having like the mutes and the humans kind of like work everything out, dance and shit. It's like, okay, good idea, but it's another crazy, insane acronym that Kipo came up with. And like, okay, do you? And of course, Dr. Amelia's trying to pretty much get her endgame goal in sight, and she's pretty much attempting to take out all the mutes there and had these fireworks that were going to have the cure in it, but they're able to pretty much get a couple of the other ones, humans, to their side, and Dr. Miller's like, screw this, and turns herself into a Mega Mute and starts a giant brawl between her and Kipo in her Mega Jaguar form. And it's like, okay, yeah, pretty much using that which you hate, and she's as the weapon to like destroy your enemy. Basic kind of stuff, works out pretty well as they're like pretty much fighting and everything, and Scarlemagne pretty much sacrifices himself to make sure the Kipo stay alive, and they're able to pretty much knock Dr. Amelia into a point where she kind of loses control of herself and is hidden in the Mega Mute, but Kipo decides to turn her back into a human. She's like trying to go after her, but gets sucked in by the weird fungal thing in that one place. I'm like, yep, that's a horrible thing, but they were pretty much going to keep you locked up anyway. Even if you had stayed pretty much in like, well, not if she's, her options were to be locked in her Mega Mute form forever and not know her mind, pretty much be locked up like Scarlemagne, and pretty much end up like this. I'm like, yep. Now, granted, it happened pretty fast. Now, granted, not too fast, but I kind of wanted a little bit more time for this to kind of occur. Maybe have Kipo grapple with the moral implications of, does she keep Dr. Amelia alive, or does she kill her? Granted, that's kind of a dark kind of turn for a kid's show, I understand it. But, like, the moral implications of why is it better to have her locked, like, is it better to have her locked up in a cell? Is it better to have her locked in her Mega Mute form? Is it better to have her locked into that weird fucking relationship with that dude thing? It's like, yeah, she was gonna go crazy to try and retain superiority over the surface. And we find out that Kipo's way was the best way. And we see her saying goodbye to Hugo, Scarlemagne, also known as Hugo, in a touching way. And then we get transported in to the future 5 years. We see Kipo's new kind of look with her leather jacket, which was pretty nice. And we just see that mutes and humans are living on the surface pretty groovy, man. They're just chilling and not screwing each other pretty much. Granted, they probably got problems and everything, but it's nice to see Kipo with her family and friends and having built a statue to honor Scarlemagne because he did help out. And it was cool to see Scarlemagne and Wolf kind of deal with the moral implications of like, okay, Kipo wants to believe the best for Dr. Amelia, but you and I both know Dr. Amelia is going to do something bad. Do we go off and take care of this problem ourselves in our own way, or do we believe in her way and not betray her? Now, granted, of course, they believe in her way and don't betray her, but I like that kind of moral conundrum that they have to kind of examine. Other than that, it was kind of fun to see all the different kind of factions and how they really needed to be brought together until we get to that end point where we're 5 years in the future and everything's just kind of working out. Of course, there's going to be problems and of course, there's going to be issues, but it seems that they decided to work everything out. And we see not just mutes and humans, but all these different factions of mutes working together as well. So, I thought it was okay. I just think that, granted, they probably wanted to have more time to build to this end because it does have that kind of rushed feel. It's not horrendously rushed, but I wish that there had been like more episodes, more time kind of devoted to kind of fleshing it out to get to that payoff of the 5 years later. It's not horrendous and it doesn't miss that complete payoff, but they're just a little bit more could have really gotten it through to kind of like really put the conflict together, because it just felt like they did a little bit of like juggling of being like, okay, this is trying to be an episode of the week kind of thing, but still connect to the overarching story. You have to have a fine balancing act of that. So, if you're into the first 2 seasons, you will definitely like this one. If you're looking for something for kids to watch and teenagers to watch, I think they'll be okay with this one. It has some laughs. I mean, we had Dave pretty much trying to explain like wars and stuff to Kipo and friends, because he evidently had like a 200-year war between the Daves, because there were actually multiple of him. Even though they were like different people, they were still all called Dave, fighting this group of fanatics wanting for a cooling fan. That was a pretty interesting thing. So, action is pretty decent. Character development I would like a little bit more out of, but for a kind of young adult show, young kid, young teen, young adult kind of show, it is serviceable with that. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.